Okay, Assalamu Alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Ramadan Mubarak. Sorry I've been a while. I haven't been able to make videos. I was out of town, but now I'm back and I'll continue making videos weekly. So today's video is going to be about the CASPER exam. CASPER exam is a judgmental exam which schools have now started to input it, which generally gauges students or applicants' empathetic levels or how they will do in certain situations. So this exam, they've now just started to implement it. Only a few select schools have now been doing it, but in the future, more schools will probably have to possibly implement this. But it's not just supposed to dental schools, it's medical schools, pharmacy schools, and some even law schools, other fields, not just necessarily medicine or the healthcare field, are using the exam. So what I'm going to do in this video is go over it, give you introduction, how to sign up for it, more details, how much it costs, etc. Just the basics, and then certain examples, just to at least give you a taste of what it is, and then hopefully from there you'll have an idea and you'll feel more confident. All right, thank you. Okay, so this is the introduction and the overall assessment of the CASPER exam. So what is the CASPER exam? Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, it's an online open response situational judgment test. So an exam meant to, assess your empathy skills, as well as certain scenarios they want to see how will you react. They want to see, will you react in a manner which is appropriate, will you respond which is, ethical. Essentially, they just want to gauge it and get to know you and to see if you have a personality that is suited to be in a certain field where you're required to be around people and behave appropriately. So that's what this exam is for, just to assess that. So as I mentioned, schools have now started to introduce this as an effort to select more empathetic applicants and future dentists. This is not necessarily just for dental schools. It's medical schools have now started to implement this. Pharmacy schools, nursing, all sorts of schools have now started to do this. I think even law schools have now started to do this. I'm not too sure, but definitely in the healthcare, this exam is very prominent. And like I said, it's only a few dental schools have done this. Like I know one dental school I applied to, the University of Detroit dental school. They required me to take this exam, so I took this exam and I filled it out, and that's where I had to take this exam because they required it. And approximately after you take the exam, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for it to be graded and the results to be sent to the schools that you have to select. So you have to select, similar to the DAT, you select certain schools, but the only thing is that in the DAT, it's sent to all schools without cost. In this one, it costs extra to send to each school. So the context of the exam. So overall, the exam is divided into 2 sections. So the first one is a typed response, and it varies from 3 word and 6 video scenarios. So essentially, they give you some word scenarios. You have to type and respond, and then they give you a video where a guy walks in and something happens, and then they have 3 questions, and then you have to respond to that. You type it. Then the second section is a video response, where they give you 2 video sections, and then 4 video scenarios, and the 2 word scenarios, where essentially, as I mentioned, something happens, you see it, and then you respond only in a video. Meaning you record yourself live, and then you respond to it. Or similarly, as they they give you like a story where it's typed up, you read it, and then you record your response, and again it's live streamed. So you're not really submitting it, it's just recording it and then just saving it. And each scenario gives you like a 3 open-ended question and 3 typical questions for each scenario. So for the written one, the first one, the type response, you have 5 minutes approximately to answer 3 of those questions. And then in the video response, you have 1 minute to video record your answers to the 3 responses. It's really not that bad. We'll talk about more examples, upcoming. So the length of exam, it's approximately 100 to 120 minutes in length, so could range from an hour to 2 hours. It just depends on how fast you gauge, but generally to me it took about a little more than an hour, like an hour and 15 minutes or so it was not that too bad. There is an optional 5-minute break in between the type response, and then after that there's another 10-minute break before the video response, so after you finish the type response. So again, if you want to take that break, it helps. If not, it's really not that necessary, but it's up to you, whatever your pace is or how you feel. So how is the exam graded? It's scored by a group of human raters. So each scenario is scored by a different rater. And the rater is randomly selected. It represents the diversity of the population. The raters, keep in mind, these aren't just exactly random people. They're fully trained. They understand the scoring has an impact on your future. And the people who are, CASPER, the people who run CASPER, the Altus team, they make sure they take select measures, to pick the right people. But one thing you should know is that when you finish this whole exam, it's only valid for one application cycle. So say you applied and you didn't get in this semester or this cycle, then you apply again, you have to retake the exam. It's only valid for one application cycle. So how is this scored? It's scored into, it's broken down to 4 quartiles. So the first section is the 25 percentile, the second one is the 25 to 50 percentile, the third one is the 50-75, and the last but not least, 75 to 100 percentile. So generally you want to be in the most highest sections possible, that shows you how more empathetic and how good your judgmental is. Again, this is gauged by those people that Altus people select. They look at your responses, and they give you score. And scores are sent automatically to the selected programs that you picked. So for example, if you pick University of Detroit or University of Pennsylvania, your scores, whatever they rated you, goes directly to that school. And up here, this is my my score. Like for example, I took it and then they said it falls between 75 to 100 percentile, the last one. So this is good. It shows you that you have a good empathetic skills and you have good judgment area. It's honestly just common sense. I would not stress, you really have to be a psychopath to do poorly in the exam. You just have to answer what is technically correct or politically correct. I would just think of as if you're trying to be polite in every scenario, or you always want to do the right thing. So it really should not be bad. Just always think what is the right thing to do, and that's how you will do in the exam. So how should you study for this exam? In case you want to know how to do well, there's a bunch of resources to use for this exam. Definitely one resource I always mention is SDN, Student Doctor Network. And that's the website, that's the forum. Of course, I will post these links in below, underneath the video. So you will go to it, but these, I'm just putting it right here so you may know. And definitely search for the specific CASPER category when you're on the forums. And go through the questions. They have plenty of forums. They have plenty of, situations and practice where you review them and then you can go over them and then you can understand and get an idea of how the exams are structured, and then therefore you'll be fine for the exam and you'll get an idea how you're supposed to answer them. So let's do an example. So for example, from the CASPER exam, we'll do this one just so you get an idea. So Dave is riding on the subway when he suddenly notices a man talking to himself in distress. The man appears as if he is talking to someone who is not there. Dave's friend, Rachel, tells him not to approach the man because he's probably crazy, quotation mark. So what should Dave do in this situation? That's one question. Number 2, should Dave stop being friends with Rachel after her comment? Number 3, should Dave react differently if the man appears violent? So what do you think? I'm going to give you some time to think, and then I'm going to show you the answers, or what would be acceptable answers. There's no right answer. It's just tailored to what is most ethically correct or politically correct, as you would say. Whatever essentially is appropriate or honest or the right thing to do. Okay, so here's the answers. So what should Dave do in this situation? So Dave should watch from a distance to understand the situation and make sure the man is actually having a delusion. For all he could be on the Bluetooth talking to someone, but now if he's having a delusion, he should keep a safe distance while calling 911, and just make sure to empathize the man is not somebody to be armed, and he should be treated as someone, because sometimes someone having a mental breakdown, they should be talked to, and because what if you were having, sometimes we're all in that situation where we need to be talked to rather than just instantly, rather than be treated as hostile and seen as a threat. That would not be fair to anyone. Now, should Dave stop being friends with Rachel after comment? No. I mean, it's normal for people to regard their safety and the safety of those close to them. but it should be explained to Rachel that, that this person could be having urgency. Now again, he should not be stop referring to Rachel, because Rachel, for all because just looking out for Dave. She's just trying to be a good friend, but of course she's just maybe being overly cautious. So it's perfectly normal, but like I said, it's just that's the response you give. Now, should Dave react differently if the man appears violent? So if this guy appears violent, then the only difference is you call 911 immediately while observing him, and then keep them, just be aware of the situation. This is, you make sure like you don't harm yourself, and you make sure everyone else is safe. That's only because you don't want him to hurt anyone else. So that's the only, these are how you would answer the questions. Again, it's just ethically correct. You want to answer in a manner where it is the right thing to do or the appropriate thing to do. And you have to be empathetic and respectful to everyone in the situation. So where can you take the exam? So there's that website. It's online. It's completely on the computer. And in order for you to register the CASPER test, you have to create an Altus Suite account. And there's the things which I'm putting that they require. Government issued ID, English or French, but if you're in the US, it's English, your typical driver license or passport, a proper working email address, a working camera, so you record yourself, working microphone, desktop, laptop, whatever, anything is, like I said, anything that essentially accesses the computer. It has to be computer, reliable, good high-speed internet. Now to take the test, it should be $40. That's just the test, and then for you to send your fee to a school, it's $12. So for example, total price if it's just one school, $52. Now if you want to send it to additional schools, you could just use the same exam and send it to all the schools if you were applying to multiple schools that require this CASPER exam. So me personally, I only signed up for University of Detroit Dental School required my CASPER results. So for me, my total price was $52. So generally, this is what how it works, how much it costs, just to give you an idea, so you know how much to pay and what to expect. Alright, thank you guys again for listening to my video. I hope my video on the CASPER has helped you and give you an idea of what to expect. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to leave it below, and I'll be happy to answer them. And all the links and the resource I mentioned, I'll be sure to post it below in the link under the description. And that should hopefully help you, and I hope you have a better idea of how to deal with CASPER. And then I'll be making more videos upcoming on GPA and other resources that would help you. Right, thank you again, thank you for coming back, and wish you all the best, and Ramadan Mubarak again.